Welcome and thank you for joining us for When Done is Mission Critical, where Atlassian and Agile meet DevSecOps agility. We're delighted to have you join us. I'm Susie Hill, Agile Coach and Vice President of Agile Services for HyperVelocity Consulting. I also hold the certification of Safe Program Consultant, and my background includes a number of years of technical and agile education, as well as working in multiple sectors, all the way from corporate to nonprofit to startup, as well as government. I have experience in a number of large-scale implementations, not just in the corporate sector, but also, again, with U.S. government contractors. Also joining me will be Justin Leader, the CEO of HyperVelocity Consulting, who has a number of years and depth of experience in the Atlassian product suite. He's worked in a number of different industries, all the way from video gaming to aerospace to healthcare, as well as government work. He's a former Safe Program Consultant as well, and Scrum Master, and his specialization has been focused in looking at a number of process problems and transforming organizations, especially with a focus on tooling. Our presentation today is really focused around a strategic partnership that we have with Global Infotek Incorporated. We joined with them in the middle of 2019 to support the operations with a large Department of Defense client in San Antonio, Texas. My colleague and CEO of our company, Justin, is going to talk more about what we did and how we delivered that solution.
Thanks so much, Susie. The problems that we were trying to solve and that were brought to us by this client and by Global Infotek really spanned both the ITSM and IT organizations, as well as the development teams that are part of this. And this was over 20 teams that we were helping. And of course, the ITSM organization was serving hundreds and thousands of users throughout the rest of the organization. A lot of it boils down to the single pane of glass, what is going on in the organization. And, management and the managers of both the teams and the divisions really didn't have a good handle on what projects the teams were working on, what they were going to be working on next in terms of resourcing, and figuring out both for the dev teams, but also across to the ITSM teams, and understanding where the time was going, what was the impediments and the blockers. We were really tasked to understand and identify the root obstacles throughout the process and the communications of this work, and then how the tools were blocking the teams to start, and how we could help them be really the keys to success for teams, and both the tools and the process. We really were asked to start to automate things where process could be automated to let the teams do the actual work that they needed, to reduce human error, and to really improve the quality of life for the teams that were drowning in requests and details. And also a major thing that we're really excited about was trying to provide this across multiple air-gapped networks. And we really found a great solution for that. And talking a little bit more about kind of this mission was at the high level to have an understanding of what all these teams were doing, to meet all the federal and divisional and military requirements and compliance needs and security needs. Overall, an enhanced agile methodology driven operational agility and speed and velocity, but also something very important to our organization at HyperVelocity is the morale boost of quality of life that is driven by great agile and excellently configured tools. When properly configured, a good Jira and Confluence and the rest of the DevOps suite is really important, and can drive true morale boosting. So the mission that we were asked overall to take a look at really was around centralizing these tools so that the full extent of who's doing what could be handled. Of course, meeting some, overarching federal agency, branch, and base compliance and security requirements, really enabling an agile methodology with tools and driving it with our agile practice to improve just operational agility. And really something important to us at HyperVelocity, whenever we do process change and tools change, is to improve satisfaction and team morale. The quality of life changes that this can bring, as I mentioned, really are important and are deserve to be front and center as well. So I'm going to hand it over to Susie to talk about our approach on this engagement. Susie, go ahead.
Thank you. Well, our traditional approach, like many engagements, is to, first of all, meet the client where they are, but also do a number of deep dive sessions to understand processes, workflows, obviously tools, in this case, the Atlassian suite that we wanted to bring into play, what communications were going on, how that communication flow worked, and what we saw within the teams and the team culture. We identified and documented a number of things that we saw that were critical needs. We want to understand where there were things blocking the flow of work, blocking work getting done. So we recorded those impediments. We really also wanted to thoroughly understand and apply lean practices to this as well, to understand business processes, not just at the leadership level, but what was going on all the way down on a daily basis at the team level. We identified a number of interdependencies and mapped all of those so we could clearly see what was going on when a request was submitted from that point until when it was to be resolved, and everything in between about how that was tracked and who was working on it. We really leveraged our not only technical but thought leadership expertise to understand the complexities of what we needed to deliver, and made sure that we could deliver the right tool set, the right process, and have the right solution for everyone that we were coaching and engaged with. What we found through the discovery sessions were a series of not only different but complex work streams, a lot of miscommunication or lack of communication, which was creating chaos and confusion. Again, like I said, there was a level of complexity which with each step of the processes that we defined. We also discovered that not everyone had a clear or shared understanding of what done meant with each task. So we saw that show up in inconsistent communication, people not understanding what's the next step or is the step done. We also recognized that there was a lot of imbalance, so to speak, of the work that was being done across the teams. One team might be very heavily utilized and at 100% capacity of their work, and another team might be sitting idle. So we needed to bring a balance to that. We wanted to make sure that the entire work process was not only well-defined and clear, but it was being done in a proactive manner and building in automation and reducing manual processes wherever that was possible. We also learned that there was a significant mismatch in knowledge and application of the Agile and Agile methodology. So we brought in training, subject matter expertise, and a number of other things. But all of this, we wanted to make sure that we were being, what we were doing was being improved and supported by the Atlassian suite along the way.
Thanks so much, Susie. I'm going to talk a little bit now about what we actually delivered, and it's going to kick us off on some examples as well. So I really want to start with the single pane of glass interface, where we really were asked to take all this disparate information, which was kind of poorly tracked in Jira at the start, and really paint a picture of across all the 20 plus teams, across all of the organization, what was going on. And so I want to show you really how we started thinking about the organization. So I'm going to show you this example of a dashboard from the Jira app structure. And we use that a lot, this alongside of some other tools and scripts, including the app's Agile assets and some other things like Botron's issue matrix, where we build a system that uses native Jira archetypes and native Jira artifacts to build a real relational database. And we, of course, leave to the side epics, the main hierarchy of epics, standard issues, and sub-issues for the teams doing the work, the contributing teams. But on top of that, we build a Jira native issue hierarchy where it's really a business hierarchy. And this we've rolled out dozens of times to other businesses that are non-government or non-military. And it's always customized to how the business thinks about their work and how they sort it. And it can be pivoted in different directions by different priorities or needs. But the main hierarchy here is our organization is split into multiple divisions. Each division, you can see division E right there, has 5 or 6 teams, crews, or whatever they're called. You can see in our example, crew 5 is way overtasked with projects. Those blue lines there are different projects that are run, and each of those projects are actually kept in different Jira projects themselves. And these are just, that blue line is an issue that represents something that came in from the sales side, or the intake side of the organization. And so it comes with all of its own data, and things roll up from the project to the team to the division. So at this high level, we can see, here's just an example of what we can do with this hierarchy. We can see that this project has a certain amount of open bugs. And this example, none of the data is really real, but then we could see, okay, how many open bugs does this team have, or even this division, or how many blockers, probably even more important, does a project or a team have, or unresolved blockers, and what are the progress metrics. And similarly, in this single pane of glass, I want to show you an example in Confluence of some reporting that really enables this, or is enabled by this information hierarchy, because the system now knows what is like a deliverable, what is a project for the organization, and it knows who's working on it. We can put together this custom work inside of Confluence that draws live data, rather than teams having to build weekly action reports, or these are called quad charts in this organization, but I've also heard them called 4-ups or other types of things. And having them like created by different project managers, and it's always like an apples to oranges comparison. This draws live real data. It can draw numerical and statistical data also. And, it's not designed to be pretty, it's designed to be very functional to show, this example made up project Selenium Animal has certain requirements and certain project description and a weekly update. And here are the devs and the Scrum Master and the tools champion. And this is the information they wanted. Another function that was really useful was if it changed in the last week, because this is live data, we have it have either highlighted or in a new in a highlight color. So you can see on the right, at the top right, there's a value in another color that shows that's been changed in the last week, so that managers and program managers can go through and really understand, well, what do I really need to think about on this? And then you can, of course, there's a link at the top. You can go to the actual Jira issue, and underneath that, there's a whole bunch of data, live data of what's happening. So going back to, an overall view of what we delivered, that really covers this single pane of glass interface and this real process improvement, enabling and rewarding the Agile processes that Susie's going to talk about at the end. But we really wanted to enable cross-team reporting and real apples-to-apples comparisons of what's going on. That brings us to really the network support work that we did. We really supported the team moving from just some bare metal servers to a real sophisticated and hardened system on FedRAMP in the cloud, where infrastructure was all set up as code, where we even enabled email, which had been turned off because we hadn't scrubbed what was going to be sent out. Now the system was very tight in terms of what was scrubbed, so it was authorized and compliant to send notifications out, which was a huge benefit. Single sign-on with the rest of the security organization based on their government-issued ID cards, migration, and infrastructure as code supporting dev and staging platforms. Some other things that we did that I think really improved a lot of stuff was looking at the ITSM service management organization, where there was so much complexity in what was requested because of the security needs and compliance needs in the organization. And so if we take a look at kind of what we did at the help desk level, what we did was to really show the relationship between when a request comes in and the multiple amounts of parallel or sequential tasks. So if you take a look at this example, what I'm showing here is like an example of a system access request. And this is very simplified and not real, but say you have this parent task that the person requesting doesn't know or care if it's 19 steps. They just want it done. But the system inside and the teams inside need to set up identity management and security review and account creation, and the facilities maybe needs to create that port at a desk. And so all of that can happen, some of it sequentially, some of it in parallel. And we want to enable that tracking so that not only does the team and the person responsible to service this know who has to do what, and the system automatically tasks that. And when step A finishes, it opens up step B and C because those two are parallel. But also the requester doesn't just see this header task, but the subtasks also update the parent request and say, hey, as part of your request for access to system XYZ, these 9 tasks have been kicked off. And to see the status, if you want to jump into the deep end status, click here. And you can see all the 9 tasks. If you just want to find out when it's all done, we'll let you know. And so that was really a game changer for the ITSM org, because then we could also track a lot of that and say, okay, what's blocked, what's not blocked. So speaking of blockers, we're going to go to that view. And so there's a dashboard here that shows so this example of one of the many ways we could pivot and look at different examples of impediment viewing. And so we see here which team is blocked the most, who's doing the most blocking, a specific detail on a block. This issue was blocked, and this is some data that we had print out into a custom field that would record the history of the block. So you didn't have to dive into all the issue details. This was kind of a special, history of this being blocked, because there was a lot of concern in the organization around blockages and impediments. And so, it was blocked for this long, and then this person unblocked it, and then it got blocked by this team, and it was blocked for 9 days, and et cetera. And so this really enables and rewards teams for tracking when they're blocked and assigning it and marking who they're blocked by. It rewards them by letting them take off their queue, letting it be put on the appropriate person's queue, and then it rewards the organization by giving them real good data. And then going back to this list of like the overall achievements here, the last thing I want to talk about before I hand it off to Susie for the Agile coaching, was just something we worked so hard on, which was that they wanted to have the single pane of glass across multiple Jira instances that were air gapped. And so we made a little diagram here. We really used the SneakerNet system of prepping data, and we used a lot of scripts in conjunction and calling Botron's configuration manager app to prep data on each of the source networks, to prep data on each of the source networks, and then move it up to the most secure system. And we were able to do that alongside of all their security protocols and totally in compliance. But it took a lot of work to make sure that we were moving the right data, and that putting it into the primary system, it was overwriting the old data. It was overwriting not the wrong data. And so there's a lot of handholding that the scripts do, but also we made it so it happens weekly. And the only human intervention needed is someone to burn the data, run the automated security reviews, and then import, and then trigger the import. It doesn't require a constant high-level Atlassian expert, and it doesn't require a lot of error checking by the user. And so this enables really constant, holistic reporting across all the teams and all the Jira systems, so that the data is really viewable across all of that. So I'm going to hand over to Susie to wrap us up with just a little bit about how we help the hard part, which is the people, and finish it up.
Thank you, Justin. As you can see, we had a complex mission ahead of us, and coupled with all of the deep technical work that we had to do and the understanding of the processes, we brought in a series of coaches, subject matter expertise, and we looked at the different ways we saw that would be appropriate to apply the Agile methods and practices. With that, we formed an Agile Center of Excellence so that we could have a hub of expertise and not just a body of content that people could refer to, but support and subject matter experts, training materials, content, and a variety of other resources to support the transformation that we were undertaking. Included in the Agile Center of Excellence, not only, like I said, was content, but that involved everything from Agile fundamentals trainings to unique, specific subject focused trainings like user story writing, user story mapping, planning a product roadmap, a number of other things like that. We had more than 20 teams to bring into the fold of Agile. They were all had different levels of knowledge and experience with Agile, so we needed to find a baseline of knowledge, a baseline of skills, and making sure we were not only applying just the Agile methods and practices, but the different flavors of it. Some teams we found needed to apply the Scrum method. Others needed to apply Kanban. Some needed a combination, which we called a hybrid approach of Scrumban. But we wanted to make sure that we fit the right solution with the right way to practice all of that, and then couple that with the work we did in the tools space as well. As a result of all of that effort and the mission that we did deliver, we received, thankfully, a happy and satisfied client, and not just within our partner with Global Infotek, but also with the DoD client that we were working with. We want to thank you for attending our session. We're delighted to have you as an audience. For more information, please visit us at hypervelocityconsulting.com. Thanks again.